Hey, my name's Shanshan. I sell art on shanshan.co. Today we're going to review Insidious, The Red Door. So this is a film by Patrick Wilson, well known from all these horror series. This time is 1 hour 47 minutes, so right around the sweet spot, an hour and a half I like. I think that's really ideal for a lot of movies. Some movies can go longer, but I think hour and a half is just really a nice sweet spot. This pretty much sticks to it, goes a little bit over, but you do have some more characters, so I think you need a little bit of development. You have Simpkin plays Dalton Lambert, the son. Patrick Wilson plays Josh Lambert again. Byrne plays Renai Lambert. Sinclair plays Chris Winslow, the roommate of Dalton in college. Hiam Abbass plays Professor Armagan, this bizarre art teacher that cracks the code on Dalton. So Josh and Dalton are put into a trance to forget the further of this ghost dimension when Dalton is about 10 years old. And so that kind of saves them from this horror thing that happened before and this terrible thing. They forget all about it, and then his kid Dalton grows up and he becomes an artist and decides to go to college. He has this really famed, renowned art professor, and the art professor unknowingly unlocks his mind back to the further, because Dalton and his dad can both enter the further, as well as Josh's dad was possessed, kind of a schizophrenic as well, which turns out in the case. So I think overall I really like the film. I was wondering, where's the original mom actress? There's this other famous actress that's played along Josh for many different movies as they were investigators into, sci-fi, whatever. But I guess this is different. This is a different timeline, different type of characters. But you see him and you just see her and you're like, where is she? And they're divorced in the film, so you're like, oh, maybe they were divorced in reality. She's sick of him or something. Who knows? Maybe they just played out that series too much, so that's hence this a little bit different angle. I love the idea of this art teacher kind of unlocking the mind of the student and setting him into trance and new different style of painting, which is what you would expect in college, but actually the reality is completely different. Some people have really good art professors, but the ones I got were, teach you the still life, the landscape, and what else? Still life, landscape, and the portrait, which are all great for your base of art, but it really just teaches you the basics. It never really gets beyond that. I did have one art professor that taught his style in class. He would do his painting while we were doing the portrait, so it was really cool. You could observe him doing really fancy top of the line abstract that was selling in the market. So that I did learn that. That's kind of the basis of one of my abstract styles. But in general, art school doesn't really develop you as into your own style per se. Usually it's after school and you're on your own, you're around other artists, and then you kind of develop your own style. So usually schools kind of hinders you developing your style versus actually cracking it open. But I like the concept of this storyline of the art teacher kind of cracking open Dalton's really art expressive to a whole different style versus what he was before. And he unknowingly paints the red door, which opens this new dimension to the further. I love the soundtrack in here, great sound effects, classic horror film with, the bass and distorted song. And so that was really good. I think in here, you really need it for a horror film. If you don't have a good soundtrack, it's just not going to carry with sound effects. So it's just really crucial. Not too many jump scares, so that was good. Just, I think one or two, really just didn't really hit you, so they were just really kind of, when they hit really good, so I like that a lot. Nothing really bloody or anything in here, so that was good, just really a good scare. So perfect teenager film, I would say, especially for high schoolers. I love the use of light to kind of show that they're in the further, out of the further, so that was really clever. It kind of creates that separate dimension, which is really nice in the mind of the viewer. They don't break that fourth wall of kind of blending the two, and then you don't know where you're at, which happens a lot in horror films. You don't really know if you're in the dream world or not in the dream world, similar to the movie Inception. But here it's very clear cut, and I really like that. I think that really tells a story really well and effectively. I love the idea too that they use a trance in the beginning of the film to kind of close off the further and just forget about the holy, and then that kind of cures the son and the father. But then later it leads to divorce anyway. And then there's a huge backstory why they get divorced, which is really cool, which was related to the further as well, which you find out way later in the story. So that's kind of, there's a lot of good backstories pulled together nicely, tightly in the end. So really good. I think it's a pretty solid horror film. It's probably a one-watch series because once you see the jump scares, you're not going to be scared the next time. Some movies play out better long term, like say Alien, or they're just quintessential, like Halloween maybe. This, I don't know if it's a classic, but it definitely has a lot of good elements in the horror film. But definitely good one-watch film. If you'd like to subscribe, you can subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.